Hello there, this is Josh Berle of MasterCard and Chair of Project Inclusion with your regular review of what's happened in the month of September. So the most exciting thing over the course of the past month is that we have been able to launch our report into lifestyle and values banking. It's up on the EPA website and we'd strongly recommend you have a look at it because it's fascinating. It is a review of the way in which the fintech market is adapting to issues of underbanking and inclusion in respect of people's identity and values. So it's all about the mushrooming of different propositions to do with gender, to do with sexual orientation, to do with age, to do with disability, to do with faith, sustainability, etc., and the way the market is tuning in to people's different views and requirements and the ways in which traditional banking is failing to address those particular needs. We think it's a really interesting take on the way in which inclusion has evolved over the past couple of years from being around issues of cost and access to issues of identity and lifestyle and activity. We've also preluded it with different blogs which centre in on specific aspects of the report, and as you'll see, you can download the specific interviews that were compiled over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. Really fascinating piece of work, hopefully to be followed by other activities such as webinars, and maybe focuses on each of those areas. It's really opened an interesting door for us to investigate in greater depth. In the meantime, we've also been considering what else we can look at for the rest of this year. As I've mentioned previously, we're looking at things like crypto, we're looking at open banking, we're looking at ways to save better as well, plus spreading our wings a little bit in terms of public affairs and regulatory influence as well in respect to financial inclusion. So I hope that was of interest. If any of this is something you'd like to become directly involved in, then as ever, just drop us a line. We'd love to have you involved. Thanks very much.
Hi everybody, my name is Kevin McAdam. I am the Head of Product Strategy at Omnio Global, but also my key role has been project lead on the EPA International Trade. As you know, this particular project is split into 2 parts, one around cross-border payments and one around the International Toolkit. I'm going to focus today purely on where we are with the International Toolkit, as quite a bit of progress has been made over the last month. Really pleased to say that we have now completed 4 of the countries that we had intended of the 6, those being Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, the Philippines and Thailand. And we are now finalising the last 2, which are South Korea and Vietnam. Really valuable toolkits, really helpful for those members or associations that are looking to expand those markets. I think it's probably really beneficial if people have time to read the country profiles, but also take an opportunity to listen to the interviews. I had a very enjoyable interview with the MasterCard country manager for Thailand as part of the profile kit. And that was really informative, both in what's happening on the landscape. But for those who are interested as well, we did talk a little bit about buy now, pay later. As everybody knows, that's quite a phenomenon at the moment in terms of the payment development. So I think you'll really find that useful. So by the early part of next week, we should have the other 2 countries out. And then we will have completed the toolkit that covers our focused 6 countries within that Southeast Asia region. Okay, thank you.
My name's Jane G, and I'm the lead for Project Financial Crime at the Emerging Payments Association. I'd like to just briefly bring you up to date with what we did at our most recent meeting. We had a look back over to 2021 in terms of what we've managed to do. We're very pleased with much of the work. We've published 2 white papers. The most recent one is Financial Crime, Payment Fraud, and the Role of Digital Identity. And those have been crucial in influencing both members and external people in terms of what we can achieve. We're now looking at what we're going to do in 2022, and we've got some plans which we think will hopefully move the dial somewhat on financial crime. We are going to, as we have done in the past, support members to comply with legislation by giving guidance, webinars and podcasts. and we're going to particularly define where technology can help in preventing financial crime. Of course, we're going to lobby for change. We want better data sharing and collaboration, and we want more support for RegTech companies and better data for fintechs. We want a level playing field on fin crime, essentially. We'll also be looking at sharing intel amongst and with members so that you can see what the latest methods are in terms of what criminals are doing and the emerging threats. And then finally, I'd like to remind you that we're going to have a very important conference, Financial Crime 360, on the 9th of November. And I would urge you, if you haven't bought a ticket for that yet, to do so. Last of all, I think some of the new issues that we're going to be looking at are things like decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's known, and also cybersecurity in terms of how there is an interrelation between cybersecurity and the level of financial crime. And I do hope that if any of you have any particular issues that you would like the project to consider, that you will get in touch and let Tom Bruin know. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Giedre Mitkute. I am an associate with Lord, and I'm also a member of the Project Regulator group. And I'm here to give you a very quick update of what we've been up to in the last month or so. We had a meeting with the FCA attended by the EPA as well as other e-money and payment services industry groups to discuss a couple of things relating to how can we achieve a greater consumer understanding over the safeguarding regime as well as differences from the FSCS regime. We also discussed how we can have a more coordinated approach between the FCA and the industry groups to enable a bit more coordinated early engagement and opportunity to discuss that either side is arising in the industry. We have also been keeping a watchful eye over some of the developments in the anti-money laundering space. The HM Treasury has published a couple of consultations on that subject. One of them relates to the proposed amendments to the anti-money laundering regulations. The proposals include issues such as whether the account information service providers and payment initiation service providers continue to be within scope of those regulations so that they have to comply with them, or should they be taken out. The proposals also relate to implementing the so-called travel rule, which would require the crypto asset service providers, such as exchanges or custodian wallet providers, to send certain originator and beneficiary information together with the crypto asset transfer. One thing we wanted to also remind firms of has to do with data protection and specifically transferring data outside the UK to third countries. Some of you may be aware that the Information Commissioner's Office is consulting on some of the select issues on the subject, and including on the standard international data transfer agreements that can be used for such international transfers. And it's certainly an area for those firms who are either multinational or using service providers that are established in third countries and whose services involve a transfer of personal data should be mindful of. If there's anything you would like to bring to our attention, or if there's anything you would like to provide feedback on the issues that we're working on, or just more generally, or to get involved in the work of the Project Regulator Group, please do get in touch.